Welcome to my channel Daily Bulletin News. Rafe proposes to Jada after a frightening incident, and Clyde offers Chad a deal for Abigail's remains. In Vivian's room at the Salem Inn, Jada is about to take Vivian in when Rafe calls her from the station. He's holding his Tia Hilda's ring and asks where she is. She explains she's at the Salem Inn and is bringing Vivian in. Rafe is stunned that Vivian is back. At the station, as he talks to Jada, he hears Jada yell, "Vivian, what are you doing?" Then there is a gunshot. Rafe races to the Salem Inn and bursts into Vivian's room, stunned by what he sees. Vivian is on the floor unconscious, and Jada is on the phone calling in backup. Jada says she turned her back for a second. That's when Vivian tried to get her gun, and it went off. She fell backward and hit her head on the desk. At the hospital, Vivian wakes up handcuffed to a bed with Jada and Rafe standing over her. Rafe asks how her head is feeling. Vivian tells Commissioner Hernandez that she wants Jada arrested for assault. Rafe says he's not back on duty, and Jada is the acting commissioner. Vivian demands to speak to the mayor, wanting Jada removed from the force. They tell her that won't happen. She's been caught and will be transferred to jail soon enough. Rafe tells her, "Nobody is going to help you." Vivian demands to speak to her lawyer. Jada says she'll get her a phone, and Rafe tells her assaulting a police officer will be added to her charges, and she'll be going away for a long time. At the DeMera mansion, EJ calls Chad to check in. He tells him that he can't imagine what he's going through. Chad, at the Horton house, is just grateful he never told the children about Kat. EJ promises to use his resources as DA to ensure Kat and Mark pay. EJ says he is glad Mark wasn't able to kill him as planned. Chad is grateful to be alive, but he has to go through losing Abigail all over again. EJ tells him how sorry he is. Suddenly, EJ hears a crash in the foyer as Ivan sneaks in, knocks over a vase, and slithers up the steps. EJ tells Chad he has to go and investigate the crash. Suddenly, Gabby pounds on the door, demanding to see Stefan. He lets her in, and thought she was done with his brother. She asks where Stefan is, and he says he hasn't seen him, but she can check his room. She decides to do just that and walks up the stairs. Upstairs, Ivan sneaks into Stefan's room and mutters, "Don't you worry, madam, I'll take care of everything." He grabs a suitcase and packs up some of Stefan's things to make it look like he left town. He then pulls out an envelope, calling it a final detail to attend to. Gabby barges into Stefan's room, and Ivan hides behind a door with Stefan's suitcase. Gabby sees the envelope Ivan left addressed to EJ. EJ arrives, and Gabby hands him the letter from Stefan. EJ opens it, reads it, and in the obviously forged letter, Stefan claims he's halfway across the Atlantic by the time EJ reads this. He can't get over what EJ and Gabby did, so he had to leave Salem. Stefan says he'll never forgive them, and they are dead to him. Gabby runs out of the room, and EJ chases her. EJ finds Gabby in the living room looking at her divorce papers. EJ tries to comfort her, but she yells at him not to touch her and accuses him of trying to take advantage of her. She says he only makes things worse, and her marriage is over, and it's his fault. She tells him he leaves a trail of misery everywhere he goes. EJ reminds her that she came to him because Stefan hurt her. She yells at him to get out, but he points out this is his house, but he'll go. Ivan returns to the Salem Inn and finds police tape across Vivian's door. He then receives a call from Vivian. Back at the hospital, in the waiting area, Jada tells Rafe that Vivian is making her call as they speak. She then asks Rafe why he's looking at her the way he is. He says he's so glad she's okay and how terrified he was when he heard that gunshot. She thanks him for worrying about her, and he says it's only fair as she worried about him for all the months he was in that hospital bed. Rafe tells her how much he loves her, and she tells him that she loves him too. Rafe pulls out his Tia's ring and gets down on one knee. He explains that this wasn't how he planned to do this. He had a romantic dinner and dancing planned, but a near-death experience makes you realize time stops for no one. He tells her the ring was his Tia Hilda's, and she left it to him when she died with the instructions that he was to give it to someone he'd love for the rest of his life. He asks Jada to marry him. All the doctors and nurses stop to watch, and Rafe jokes he wasn't expecting an audience but needs an answer. Jada tells him, of course, she'll marry him, and everyone applauds. Meanwhile, Ivan sneaks into Vivian's room and asks if she should get a hacksaw to free her. She won't let him take that risk and asks what happened at the mansion. He says he left the letter, and Gabby watched EJ read it to her, and she is devastated. Vivian calls it some sort of consolation prize. Back at the DeMera mansion, alone, Gabby decides to give Stefan what he wants and signs the divorce papers. At the Horton house, Chad flashes back to what happened in Paris. Steve shows up to check on him. Chad can't believe he let himself believe that woman was Abigail, and everyone tried to warn him. Steve feels he let him down, but Chad says if not for him, his children would have lost both their parents. Chad tells Steve that he saved his family. Steve reminds him it's his family, too. Chad hates asking Steve for another favor. He says he went to see Kat, and she has no idea where Abigail's body is, so he needs to get in to see Clyde. Steve breaks the news that Clyde escaped during an appeals hearing. Steve promises they will get the son of a bitch, and Abigail will be at peace again. Suddenly, Chad gets a call from an unknown number, which turns out to be Clyde. Clyde offers to reunite him with what's left of his beloved, but first, Chad has to do something for him. He tells Chad his proposal, which the audience doesn't hear. Steve asks Chad what is going on. Clyde realizes Steve is there, and Chad doesn't want to tip Steve off. Clyde says if the answer is yes, tell him to go to hell. Chad responds, go to hell. Clyde says that's a good answer, and he'll be in touch with the details. After Chad hangs up, he tells Steve Clyde wouldn't tell him anything and just wanted to gloat. Steve thinks he should get busy tracking Clyde down. In their cells at the Salem PD, Kat and Mark talk about Abigail's remains going missing, which is why Chad came to see her. She feels foolish that she thought he was coming to check on her. She says Chad didn't deserve what they did to him, but Mark says they had no choice. Kat thinks they need to be realistic. There is no hope their mother is alive, and Clyde has followed through on his threat. Mark doesn't know how they will tell their siblings they lost their mom not once but twice. Kat thinks they should tell them everything, including who she is. Mark hopes they haven't read about their arrest in the papers yet. Suddenly, Aaron shows up and begs Mark to tell him this is a mistake and that he was not in Europe trying to kill Chad DiMera. Mark tells Aaron he shouldn't be here, and he is sorry. Aaron says he should be as he lied to him and Felicity, and he demands to know what is going on. Mark explains he had no choice. If he didn't do what this maniac wanted him to do, then he would have killed their mother. Kat shakes her head, and Aaron says, Mom is already dead. What are you talking about? Aaron asks why he's looking at the woman in the other cell. Aaron recognizes Kat as the lady from the park, and asks his brother why he's saying Mom is alive when they know she and Dad died in a car crash. Mark explains their mom survived, and a drug lord named Clyde Weston got his hands on her and blackmailed him into going after Chad. Mark swears everything he did was to protect him and Felicity. Aaron tells him to stop trying to protect him. Kat tells Aaron to listen to his brother. Aaron lashes out, saying that this is a family matter, so stay out of it. Kat reveals she is family, and she's his older sister. Aaron doesn't believe Kat and thinks she's working for Clyde. Aaron says his sister Kat was in an accident that killed his parents and is in a rehab clinic right now, barely alive. Kat says she was in the accident, she barely survived, and she had extensive plastic surgery, and that's why she doesn't look the way she did. Aaron realizes she is his sister, and Kat laughs, hi, kiddo, it's been a minute. Aaron is overjoyed she's here and that Mom is alive. He asks to see their mom. Mark wishes he could take her to their mom. Kat explains they don't know where their mom is, and Mark adds, or if she's still alive. Mark tells their brother that Clyde gave them a mission to get their mom back, and they failed, so he may have killed their mother as punishment. Aaron asks why they couldn't have just gone to the police. Mark tells him Clyde wouldn't let them, and they are trying to find their mom. Aaron says he has to get out of here and rushes off. EJ stops by the Horton house to see Chad. He informs Chad that Stefan has left town, but that's not what they are here to discuss. Chad called him over to talk about the Greens. EJ promises he will throw the book at them. Chad says he doesn't care about Mark, but he wants the charges against Kat dropped, and he wants her to go free. Stay tuned and subscribe the channel.